What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Kicks and Picks podcast. We are going to break down Euro 2024 for you, give you the complete betting breakdown. Nick and Coach Steve with you. Scotty unable to make it, so we brought in our Euro expert, good friend, Martino Puccio. Martino, pleasure.
Very,
Thank you so
very
much for coming
generous.
back.
Very
Hey, man,
generous on the expert part.
we've
We know a
cashed.
couple of people on Twitter are already pissed at that, so you got that going.
Let them get upset. We've cashed our fucking plays together. That's good enough for me. We appreciate you making time for us today.
Of course, it's always fun talking with you guys. Of course, locals as well, and we all have the same outfit. This is like the only thing I own besides I think I have like an El Shaarawy shirt from like the 2013 shirt. I think
With the white
but I have
collar?
that jacket on the way. Yeah. I mean, it's in there somewhere, but way too tight to fit me now. So
All right.
Well, he's relevant again. He's on the team again, so you
It's
can actually rep a
At
player
the
on the squad.
expense of maybe more deserving players, but I don't know how much we want to get into.
yeah, you got a long list of that, but
In any case, you can see where we're hoping to see out of this tournament, but does that mean we are going to bet on it? I don't think so, but we're going to break it down for you guys. We were talking about it before we hopped on, and we're not going in any particular order. I think we're just going to talk through the tournament, give you some bets that we like, bounce around some ideas, but really, really chalky odds, pretty much across the board. So for anybody that is new to this tournament, it's a brand new format. There are increased teams in this version of it, right? We went from 16 to 20. Is it 4 more? Do I have that right?
Yeah, we're at 24 now.
24, sorry.
Yeah.
So
the original format back like 3 tournaments ago was 16, right? And then they did increase it. Yeah.
Been progressively increasing. So what that means is you're going to see some third place teams that are going to qualify out of groups, which really kind of messes with the odds for group winners, messes with the odds to advance out of the group.
Yeah.
The futures for the winner of the tournament are just maybe the chalkiest thing I've ever seen in an international tournament. So might as well start there. We're looking at, and before I get into it, this is your opportunity. Anybody that's betting, shop around on this tournament, shop around for lines. If your state offers multiple books, look at every single one of them, look offshore, because they are going to vary widely. I'm just going to give off a couple of lines from DraftKings. That's not to say they're the final lines. It's not to say that they're the best, it's just what's in front of me. England has turned into a favorite, plus 300 to win the tournament. France at plus 340, Germany at plus 550, Spain and Portugal plus 700, plus 750, respectively. And then you have to go all the way to Italy, Belgium, Netherlands to get plus 1600. Everybody else is plus 4,000 or worse. So I will just open it up to you guys for your thoughts. Is there any value in placing a future on a winner of this tournament?
I mean, you get him plus money on any winner. Plus 300 is not terrible. I don't know if I'd stake plus 300 on England. Tournament style play like this, I'd probably look for one of the squads if there's someone I like in that like second tier of teams. I just don't know if I'm not convinced by anybody. That's the only thing. Like Germany, you wonder who's in it, where the goal's coming from, right? There's no like Kloses of back in the day or Podolskis. Spain still gets a lot of respect, but I don't know if they're necessarily better than France or England in a one-off. Obviously you saw what Italy did last time. Like they're sitting there plus 1600, but this team is a little different than that team. So, it's hard to really pinpoint a winner. I mean, if you pick a couple sides you like that are in that 750 to over 1,000 range and one of them hits, then, I guess that's a nice way to cash out. But I just don't see a team that with the current odds, like if England or France was plus 500, I'd probably lean to one of them just because they are the two clear favorites. But I don't know if I'm going to plus 300 or plus 340. To me, I don't know if that's enough of a payout on a future.
Yeah, I kind of look at things differently. I know most people kind of look at how Steve's viewing it, but I kind of play devil's advocate in the sense of if you think France is the best team on paper, and I think we're all in agreement here that England should not be the favorite, but it's been a consistent thing over the past 3 tournaments or so, including World Cup. So the fact that they're that high and France is still below there, like France could have easily have won this last Euro. They
Yep.
had to go to penalty kicks against Switzerland, and that was one of their
Mhm.
better performances. This is the different France side now. And again, they were just obviously a couple penalty kicks away from repeating the World Cup. So they go deep into these tournaments. They're battle tested for this. The talent on paper, it's incomparable
Yep.
from every single conceivable position, from
Yeah.
goalkeeper up top to Mbappe. England, I don't understand this. Even if they went with their consistent backline selections of the Harry Maguires of the world, like even Harry Maguire, as memeable as he is, he's still not awful internationally. He's a respectable international player. The fact that he's not going to be there, I think England's far too shaky across the board. At the back line. The midfield is good, not exactly great. I think there's a lot of players in similar positions. So Southgate isn't obviously the most tactically flexible sort of guy. And in my opinion, they're still the team with the most pressure on them
Yep.
in this tournament.
Yeah.
And when there's pressure mixed with England, you get failure. And that's often how and why I don't bet them. I thought if they would have had a more solid back line, I would have been okay with it
Yep.
if you were to want to lean in that direction. But there isn't that much value in general because even if you want to look at the teams plus 1,000 or greater, Netherlands, they just lost two of their best midfielders
Yep.
now.
Yep.
They're really shot in that sense. Belgium, it's sort of like, are we still doing this? Croatia, they're funny because when they're on, they're a great tournament team. And then you kind of saw what happened a couple of years ago. They were eviscerated by a Spain side that really had no true striker. They still kind of don't. I mean, Morata's okay, but there isn't anything that screams here. And again, I would love to say that the number one thing that you should do prior to picking a winner is fill out a bracket.
Yeah.
Because if you fill out what you think is going to happen, then you see all these sort of different paths and that value could weigh differently. So I think if I could just pull up my stuff here, like for example, if you don't mind me like talking about where I have like teams like first through third
Sure.
in these groups. So like for example, if I have like Germany, Spain, and England winning their groups because I think they're sort of those favorites that they should win, their paths are a little bit easier. Because if you get Italy in third place, which I think is conceivable, or even second, I have second for this bracket, they would face Switzerland in the round of 16 where I have them. So that's a really difficult spot for Italy. They've obviously struggled against Switzerland at times. Then you have England right there. So it could be potentially an England versus Italy quarterfinals matchup. I honestly think Italy could beat them. It really just, we don't know what Italy is truly going to be until they start playing the games because they look good at times, but then Spalletti doesn't seem like he has it figured out. So that to me is worrisome. And then you go to the other side of the bracket, which again, France would be on this side where it's like Italy, England, and all that, because that's if England finishes first and France finished first, that's not a finals matchup. So you have the two favorites potentially facing off in the semifinal. So that's where the value goes out the window. I don't think it's viable whatsoever to bet something like that. And again, the other side of it is, for me, a Germany, Spain, and Portugal trio, a trident of a favorite to get to that final. And for me, with those three teams, it kind of feels like a toss-up. On paper, Portugal, I think Portugal actually has the most talent to pull it off. Yep. Now, whether or not Portugal does do that, I think Roberto Martinez is a step up from what they had with Fernando Santos, who was, in my opinion, the worst manager of all the major countries that were qualifying for these tournaments. And I still think that would have been true if he was managing in this one. So I think that's where you sort of kind of get this weird scenario here. And again, it's just the path to the final, right? Yep. So England's path to the final, if they win their group, is not great and not favorable. Yep. And I wouldn't touch them. And then again, on the other side, you have the third, fourth, and fifth favorites. If you go like kind of that bracket, the way I filled it out is Germany, Portugal, and Spain. Those three teams have a really great shot at getting to the final. And again, on paper, if you want to go by paper, Portugal to get to the final and then a one-off game plus 700 is a pretty decent number. And everyone on that team now has won trophies. They're significant players across the board.
So let me throw this at you, Martino, because if you think France and England end up on the same side of the bracket, DraftKings has futures where you can pick the two finalists, and that's where you can find value, right? If you pair France with any of those three sides you just mentioned, France and Spain in the final plus 1,300, France and Germany plus 1,200, France and Portugal plus 1,300. You can play all three, and if you hit one of those three, you're up pretty good money if you put an even bet on all three.
And you found better value on any of them, Germany.
Yeah.
Because France, Germany that I saw that I liked out of the finals matchup, it was plus 1,000. So if you're getting plus 1,200, then already you said that's DK, right? DraftKings?
That's DraftKings, yeah. And
yeah,
Germany, the home side,
so right away there you have something. So I just think, again, and this is like I bet the NCAA tournament the same way.
Smart.
Like you just have to fill it out. What do you think
great,
is most likely? I don't think you do and fill out a bracket looking at it in terms of betting perspective. Because if you do that, then I fall into the trap of you start playing games in your head. And if you just kind of just play it out like, okay, I think they will be dumb. This team can get past that team. I think it's more of a broader view than you would of a narrow-minded, like betting like, is it really worth it? Because this team is only valued at that number. Then you start making bad decisions. And that's something like you got to clean up. But the finals matchups with that, because again, if France finishes first, it's unless, like Spain or Portugal, and just a final thought on this, Spain, Portugal, or Germany were to finish second, then you review things. But it's likely that those teams finish first, or they're in a good spot.
Right.
They're more reliable than most of those teams in that group.
Yeah.
Again, how many bad group stages is Germany going to have? Are they finally going to get over that hump? Because they have been pretty difficult to bet. They haven't been great. So I think Germany actually gets over the hump. This is the best manager they've had. I know Joachim Löw is very respectable, but that version of him was kind of foregone at that point. But again, France, the path, even if you don't want to bet France to win it, France just to get to the final is worth it. And then I'll have to look up what to get to a semifinal is. I'm not sure if DraftKings has any of that, but just to go to a certain round, those are also fun to do. So
yeah, semifinals you have England minus 165, France 150. Those are minus. Germany plus 120, Spain plus 135, Portugal plus 150 are the top five to reach the semi.
You know my view on any of that stuff. Those are odds you can get on any game. Take a team to score 2 goals, you're getting plus 150, right? In a knockout game. So I think I have the same sentiment as you guys. I think, Martino, that's good advice to kind of visualize where the teams are going to end up before you're just blindly placing a future. I like that strategy a lot. And I'm in agreement with what you guys are saying. I mean, listen, France to me is the clear-cut team here. Plus 340 is not a bad number. I did personally like them with Germany at home at plus 1,200, with the Portugal at plus 1,300. Those are my 2 favorite bets on a quote-unquote winner. But you guys hit the nail on the head.
Both of you.
What's up?
So do you so there's certain teams and players and stuff that you never bet against, right? Like Real Madrid in the final. You don't want to bet against Real Madrid, right? Is France, and I know they had a shortcoming last Euro, is France sort of that team now that we could look back on it saying were we stupid not to pick them regardless of the number? Because there is a strong possibility it gets to that. Because again, how many question marks do you have for every other country here? And there's quite a few of them, and France probably has the least. And they're obviously the ones that are the best.
I think you're 100% spot on. That's kind of where I was going with my point. Is every other team has their flaws, right? I think this is a tournament where goals are really going to be at a premium. Not a lot of these teams have a sure thing at striker. And if you look, I mean, Germany's at home. That's, I think, going to be something of an advantage. I think Spain is probably the most overvalued team here at plus 700. I think they have question marks on defense. I think Portugal, you could say the same thing. I think Portugal has maybe some of the best talent of any team. I think their midfield and their attacking 3, 4, 5, 6 guys that they have are just phenomenal. I have them in another play later on. So France would be my most likely to win the tournament. Portugal would be I'm going to go out on a limb at plus 750 because I like it. And then you kind of have to go to really take a stab with a Croatia plus 4,000 with I don't know. I don't even know who else I would say, because I realistically don't think anybody out of the top 3, 4, 5 teams can win this tournament. I really don't. You'd have to make an amazing case to tell me that the Netherlands are going to get it done. Belgium's going to get it done. Somebody like a Turkey or Serbia or Austria. Is one of those teams going to be a surprise and make it to the semifinals? Possibly. We've seen that before. We see it every tournament, but
so at the World Cup, right?
Yeah, I mean, or can any of them lift the trophy? It would be a minor miracle.
So another interesting one that DraftKings has, besides just to reach the final, picking the final matchup, is they have the straight forecast, where if you think France is most definitely winning this tournament and you just take a couple shots at who's going to finish second, France to win and Germany to finish second is plus 2,500. France to win, Spain to finish second plus 3,500. Like there's some value there.
That's incredible. Yeah.
So like if you're convinced on France, the way you can really get a lot of value is, you could of course bet those finals matchups, because then you're getting a win either way if they get there. But if they beat Portugal, it's plus 3,500 in the final.
So that's my question to you guys. I mean, Martino kind of posed it. I'll turn it back on him and turn it back on you, Coach. What's the better bet in your mind? Is it having two teams get there and you're getting paid at plus 1,200? Or is it, hey, I really believe in France. I want the extra 1,200 that it's going to pay out. Give me France over whoever at plus 2,500. Because I'm kind of in the school of thought where, hey, two teams final, anything can happen. I'd rather
I think if you take the straight, I think you also have to hedge with the reach the final if you're convinced of those two teams. Because if you put the same amount on both and you hit just to reach the final, you're still up probably, say, you lose 1 unit on it, you're up plus 1,100 or something, right? On that. If they lose the final, then if they win the final, you're up like about plus 4,000, right? Which is huge. It covers your whole tournament. You could lose every group stage match in the tournament. You're going to be up money at that point, right?
For sure.
Yeah, I agree with that, because at the end of the day, like Nick was just saying, it's still a final. So many different things can happen. We can't forget that Greece can win anything.
Right.
We saw upsets in our European favor. We know Real Madrid won, sure, but can we look at Atalanta and what they did? And it's not even to bring them into the conversation. Not only like to get to that final was absurd. Like to beat Liverpool was a massive upset. To go into Anfield to win like that was insane. And then to beat an undefeated Leverkusen, whatever, like so certain people would be like, well, they were due for a loss because they won 50 something straight, or they didn't lose for 52 games or whatever it was. But at the same time, anything can happen. Olympiacos, another perfect example in the Conference League. No one even like batted an eye to them. So for that to kind of be something, you could look there. And then again with the long shots, just to kind of go back with that real quick. Listen, this is like as a winner, any of these teams like below, like where it's like Belgium plus 3,300, and like I'm looking at BetMGM right now. I'm sure they're like better on DK, but you're talking like plus 5K for Denmark. Like to me, it's just kind of silly at that point. You would only really want to do something if it's, I don't know, like you want to toss $10 on it. Like, sure, fine.
Yeah.
But if your standard unit is 50 or 100, I kind of don't see that being worth it. I'd rather just take your route, Steve, where you're kind of like, okay, yeah, France will make it to the final. I could hedge with all these three options that are highly like again, if it plays out in the group stage like we thought, or like I was saying, then it's absolutely worth it taking all three of those, because those three, like the payouts are incredible.
And you hit one of the three and then you're good. Else. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And like, if you're going to take one of those long shot futures winners, you have to do it at a price you're comfortable with losing, right? Like $10 or $5 just to win like a couple $100. In my opinion, with the amounts I'd throw on stuff, I'm not throwing $100 on a plus 5,000 team, right? It's not the way I bet. And because like you said, futures are always tricky, which is why like I'm hesitant to throw too much on a France or an England too, because you mentioned Greece, Atalanta, like teams through the years surprise, and you get a France performance in a semifinal or a quarterfinal like they had last time out, and they lose in PKs, and then there goes your big future you put down. So I think Yeah, I like the angle of taking those finals matchups. If the bracket plays out the way you expect, throw like $10 on each or $20 on each, whatever you kind of gambler you are, and then you can get a nice payout as long as France makes the final and one of those three others make the final. Which if they end up on the same side of the bracket, one of them should, like you said. So, but yeah, I mean, you always have to bet in a way that you're comfortable losing what you're putting down, right? I think that's what it always comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
Last thing I'll say on futures for tournament winner, another strategy that I think we've kind of done over the years now with Champions League, for instance. You can place a bet before the tournament, that's fine, but everything's going to reset once you hit the knockouts. So you can take those 3 games in, see how teams are performing. Who's the unexpected dark horse that's won their 3 group games? How does France really look after playing 3? And you could place another bet or make a better, more educated decision at that point in time. Are you going to get France at plus 340? No, but you might get them at plus 200 and you cut out 3 games.
Portugal, again, when they won, I mean, that's a team that finished 3rd, and I know that was
shouldn't have even made it out of the group.
Yeah, of course, right? But besides the point, it's there, and I do think, like, again, I'm not saying Italy would do this, right? Italy repeating in a tournament I think that's the craziest thing, to be honest with you. We all know how they are. But they've actually always overperformed in the Euro. Especially in 2008 was tough, but then in hindsight, it lost against the greatest international team ever, besides like the Pele's Brazil. So losing to Spain, there's kind of no shame in both of those. So 2008, 2012, phenomenal. And anytime Italy off the back of disappointment internationally, they come through. And I will say this, and I'm not saying they will win this, but if you want to talk value, the possibility of Italy finishing 3rd is not unlikely. They could finish 3rd with Croatia and Spain there.
Yep.
And then Italy finishing 3rd in a knockout tournament, like that, there's possibility that value soars, because if they're plus 1600 in certain areas. Like, guys, like if they finish 3rd, like does that drop to like 2,000 or something like that? I think it could. It probably will, because then if Italy are sluggish playing 3rd, like they're gonna they could probably easily drop points to Croatia. It would not shock me they get a result against Spain, because they would do that. I think the letdown is going to be against Croatia, funnily enough. So with that, I think that's a place that you could find value for them. And again, it just doesn't have to be them. We just know them the best. If that happens with another team that has a relatively difficult group, you could again still find that value. Then again, is it any of those teams that we mentioned? Probably not. But I would look out for stuff like that. Yeah,
and I think what you mentioned with Italy too, there's an interesting angle. Nick and I were looking through futures, and it's player futures, and a lot of these books have to lead the team in goals. And the best value I've seen so far on this one for Italy is on FanDuel. I think it's plus 425 now. It moved from plus 700 a few days ago. It's plus 350 on DraftKings. It's Gianluca Scamacca to lead the team in goals. I think if Italy makes any noise this tournament, I think he has to score goals. And he was performing very well for Atalanta in that run to the Europa League crown. He's kind of turned his season around the second half of the season, and I don't see how he is not starting every match for Italy at striker unless he really, really struggles the first couple and Retegui gets a look. But like you look at the other players of the team, who else threatens him? Maybe Chiesa has a really big tournament again. But I think
2 goals from Scamacca and he wins that.
2 to 3 goals, depending on how deep they go in the tournament, right? If they go into the quarters or semis or something, I think he's going to need 3 to 4. But
even so,
if it's just
you're going to get one from a PK from somebody, you're going to get one from a Barella, from a Chiesa, from somebody off the bench if they are progressing further.
I think Pellegrini is a threat.
Just
because he's a set piece master. There's so many like different kind of things to look at. I think Italy is actually underrated when it comes to creation. Scamacca was one of those. I tweeted out before we got on here, but Nick mentioned it like last week. I want to say he was like plus 700-ish, right?
Yeah.
When you first looked, you were saying, and then Steve just mentioned, I got him at plus 460 on BetMGM. Again, this is just where the value is. It wasn't BetMGM. I'm sorry. I think it was on Odds Checker. But when you get to that point, you really just start thinking to yourself, Chiesa, is he really going to be the guy that turns it up in a tournament like this with that goal scoring? He's always so inconsistent. I think he does so much other great work. And with that last team, he had to be that scorer. Immobile, where he was mentally and just like clearly just physically playing, wasn't good enough in that tournament. That's where Chiesa was able to step up. With this, and again, Immobile had his chances in that. It's not like he was lacking any. So like we're talking about someone who could be more clinical, and Scamacca's been good for the national team. It's not like he's one of those players that's just kind of falling flat. I think he's elevated himself a little bit. Maybe expectations are lower than what Immobile was, because he's the most prolific scorer in Serie A since Di Natale left, right? There's other players that have been in there, but Immobile has been that guy. He's been winning Capocannoniere, 20 plus goals. Like we know it, and he would always fall short. Scamacca, not really the case. I had two others if you wanted me to mention them now, or you guys had.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So these are just with other national teams. So Kvara, as we know, for Napoli, phenomenal player. He's already third all time for Georgia's leading scorer. So he's plus 190 in this tournament. Sure, is it not flashy? But to me, when people want to complain about, oh, that isn't the value I like, it's still plus 190, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
For 3 games.
Put $100 down.
For the 3 games they'll play.
Pretty good. You're right.
Like, you're winning money. So please shut up.
What's the other dude, their other forward that has a very similar name to him?
Brother, I'm not here to botch names. Like,
oh no, I'm wondering what he's at, because that's got to be the only guy giving him competition.
No, exactly, and that's kind of the thing. And when you look at it, sure, you want to play devil's advocate with Kvara. Kvara is going to probably have to do most of the creating for them, but he's still their best player by a wide margin. So there's going to be opportunities for him, and usually it's going to be coming down to that. I'll have to pull up right here. Sorry, for that. Where is Georgia? Is it Georgios Mikatsuda? I don't even know how to say his name. But the next top scorer is plus 400 for them, and then plus 500. So there's a pretty substantial drop off, right? And again, whatever, you want to play devil's advocate, you don't agree with me, then go ahead and then take one of the two other guys. Because if Kvara is creating for them, one of those two players has to do that. And then if you want your value, 400, 500, there you go. And then the other one was Joselu for Spain, plus 600. Alvaro Morata, listen, good player, reliable player for Spain. He had a good Euro last go around. I'm not fully convinced by him. And Joselu was probably one of the most underrated players to bet in all of Europe this past season. I know, Nick, you bet a ton of Real Madrid. So did I. If it wasn't Vinny Jr., it was this guy.
Yep.
I think he's kind of built for that moment. He's going to have a similar role with Spain as he did with Real Madrid. Not the guy, but someone who can come on and be decisive in games. Again, Albania, what's going to happen with that, right? Italy play Albania first. So Spain's going to get their difficult games out of the way. Do they play? And this is kind of how like groups go out, right? So say Spain is already through to the next round. How do they handle the Albania match? I don't know if they play them in the second or third game, but how do they play them like that? Because if Joselu gets in against Albania and Albania is worse than we ever thought, lo and behold, stat padding. That's a thing. That's how do we think Harry Kane inflated his numbers? Mariano Rivera's home in Panama. Like they were gifting Harry Kane all these goals. I think that's a possibility in a group like that.
I agree. Let's take a quick look at Golden Boot for this one. Not sure if you guys jotted anything down, but I think Mbappe with the shortest odds at plus 500 is absolutely criminal. I don't see how you could look at that market, not take a very, very, very serious look at Mbappe. Kane is at plus 550. Then you have to go to an old friend, Cristiano Ronaldo, at plus 1200. Now, I don't know. I know he's still in good form, I guess, in the Saudi League or whatever he's doing.
He played great today against Ireland.
I don't know exactly what the plans are for him in Portugal's setup, but getting Ronaldo at plus 1200, I almost feel like it's worthy of a little something. just because I think the team is going to go far. I don't. Is he going to have a turn back the clock superstar tournament, and score 9 goals? I don't think so, but I don't know. It's kind of like we joke with Real Madrid, right? You get Madrid at plus money, you take them. You're going to give me Ronaldo at plus 1,200. I'm interested. And then there's a million other guys, but I'm really having a hard time. I'm seeing past Mbappe at plus 500. I think, like I said, I'm looking at teams that are going to go far. So you got to look at like a Havertz plus 2,800 or Füllkrug at plus 4,000 for Germany. You know,
and again, it's penalty takers too. Havertz isn't even a guaranteed penalty taker for Germany. That's the thing. It could be Gundogan, it could be Füllkrug. Like that's kind of where it gets dicey. I would say not only path that we were talking about before with the bracket, group stage still matters. It's the most games. You're guaranteed 3 games, right? Portugal has a weak group. It's Turkey, Georgia, Czech.
Yeah.
And it's not to be disrespectful to any of these teams.
It's true.
But again, service-wise, Ronaldo's going to get it. Felix, Bernardo Silva, Leao. Even depends on how Gonçalo Ramos gets in there. Roberto Martinez isn't the manager to be hesitant on playing their star players, right? Yep. Or playing key players. You had to like break Fernando Santos's thumbs just to sub on a guy that's young and has potential. So this is a little different, and Ronaldo is in form, and he looks really good for his. I also, by the way, just it matters. He almost played 90 minutes against Ireland today. So if you're expecting Ronaldo to be your starter, and the Euro is starting in a few days, why would you risk him 90 minutes against Ireland in a game that doesn't matter? I think that kind of plays into it, right? Because if you value him and you're relying on him to be that guy, then why would you risk him like that? That's just, to me, it's a little confusing. And they might be playing a week from now, right? But I don't know.
Yeah, and you look back to Euro 2020, Ronaldo and Patrick Schick were co-golden Boot winners with 5 apiece in terms of just straight goals scored. I mean, Schick is not somebody you would have predicted prior to that tournament, right?
He had a crazy goal in that one, right?
Yeah, and then Ronaldo, he takes PKs, like you said. If he's playing, if he's on the pitch and they get a penalty kick, he's taking it.
Plus 5,000 for Schick.
Yeah, he leads the Euros in all-time goals now at 14. Like, he's going to want to pad that number too, because he's got that ego of just wanting to, be in the record book forever. So, yeah, I mean, plus 1,200 is a lot of value, Nick. And if we agree that Portugal has a very good chance with the way that bracket could shake out, even a team that goes deep in the tournament is going to be someone who you're looking at for a Golden Boot winner. I mean, with the Czechs, they only made it to the quarters, and Schick ended up being co-Golden Boot in terms of goals scored. So there is the possibility that if you get a guy who pads his stats in the group stage against somebody bad, that plays into it too. And, I'm trying to look at the groups here and who's in a really bad group. Maybe it's, Ronaldo. Yeah, you mentioned it, right? That's a pretty weak group around them. I mean, Belgium's group is pretty weak. Is Lukaku going to show up and have a tournament? I don't know.
Even then, you're looking at like certain countries where you're going to have like multiple players from a certain country on this list.
Right.
So it's not so like then you're sort of dividing up these goals, and it's like, are they going to reach that total if they view these guys like up there? Like for England, like Phil Foden's relatively high, Griezmann is pretty high.
Yeah.
Olivier Giroud is like up there as well. Jude, it's come on now. We know how Giroud is in sort of these tournaments. He's not a prolific scorer. They won the World Cup. He didn't score. So like it's different. It's a little dicey when you get like that. What do you guys think about like someone from like who could be the Patrick Schick of this tournament? Is my question for you guys.
I mean, looking down the list,
it's so tough.
I mean, what's Denmark's path look like with like Højlund, right? Does he?
It's not great. I gotta see.
It's not great, right?
Like I had them.
They're in a group with Slovenia, Serbia, and England.
Where I had them placing, they would face Germany immediately.
Yeah. So that if you lose around
again,
16,
that's what I
tough spot.
Yeah, I think the hardest part, you kind of nailed it, Martino, is every guy I'm looking at that's plus 4,000, plus 5,000, they're sharing goals with somebody else, right? They're on a powerhouse team or, do you look, I hate to even say it because you both know I don't particularly rate this guy, but somebody like Dusan
I think I know who you're
Vlahovic.
gonna say. I knew you were gonna say it.
I don't know. He's plus 4,000.
Well, I was looking
do I
at
think
him
he's
as
going to lead the
Serbia's
tournament
leading
in
goal
goals?
scorer. And his number to lead Serbia was solid because Mitrovic is the one favored by the books, right?
And
But
Mitrovic is the guy
they're
playing in
both
an
they're both
unserious
the
league.
same on MGM, so they're both plus 5,000 on MGM.
yeah,
But like anybody else that I kind of rate, and I'm not saying he's
Serbia
a goal scorer. I'm
pisses me
just
off,
using these guys as examples. You look at Marcus Thuram, it's the same number, plus 4,000. Not really a goal scorer. You look at Bruno Fernandes, not really a goal scorer. You look at Leao, not really a goal scorer. They're all big, flashy numbers.
Yeah,
I'm kind of trying to find a striker here, and there's not many. It's a really weird market.
If Italy makes a wonky run, Gianluca Scamacca at plus 6,500, if he has a couple good,
well, you
games,
got him at plus
I'm
6,500, so that's great because this is plus 4,000 here.
Right. So I'm not
That's
saying he's going to win it, but like at
Of
plus
course.
6,500, you could sprinkle a couple dollars. $5 bet wins you like $300, right? Like if you were to somehow
send him one of those
make an
screenshots
impact,
to those,
right?
social media accounts. Yeah.
Like I just think having like $5 in a long shot add some excitement to it. If the guy hangs around for a while, you probably lose your $5, but like, why not when the potential's there, right?
Right.
Because you're right. Like, you're looking at the guys in the 4,000, 5,000 range. They're all sharing goals with somebody, except maybe Schick at plus 5,000. If you think the Czechs can make a similar run as last time, which I'm not that convinced that they can, but
right. I'm trying to look for
Lewandowski's hurt now. He's plus 5,000, but he's hurt, and Poland's not that good overall. Vlahovic is one that kind of stands out because the Serbs aren't bad, and in that group they can very well finish second. It's not a guy I hate, but like you said, he shares with Mitrovic. So,
a guy like Lamine Yamal being listed is just crazy to me.
Yeah,
because he is. But by the way, just on a singular game basis, Shaqiri, anytime Shaqiri plays in an international tournament, just an anytime goal scorer for a specific game, he's always worth it. He's always worth it.
Always
this
plus
guy,
800 or something like that.
Yeah, he's just always. And again, they're not going to be facing Albania in this go around, but man, Serbia, because he is Albanian. That's why I had that thought in my head. But again, he is a player who just always sort of steps up in international tournaments, right? And I think that's another like cool like thing to talk about. Players rise to the occasion. Was like Steve mentioned Klose before. Klose was not that sort of club player. Good club player, sure, but phenomenal tournament player.
Yep.
He was. Is he still the all-time leading scorer for the World Cup? Right. So if not, he had
Real
it
close.
There's stuff like that, but overall, man, I mean,
tough tournament.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, it's a tough tournament.
I think some of these numbers are garbage. So if we go Holland, right, with not Erling Haaland, like the Netherlands, dude, like who do we like here? Like Kodiako plus 3,300.
Nobody
convinces
me on that team, right?
Like I almost like Bergwijn the most because he's a fucking forward. or Weghorst,
or Memphis,
you know what I mean?
or Memphis, right?
Memphis is the other. I think Memphis would be there,
but they're all going to be sharing fucking goals, so you don't know what you're going to get.
It's just
well, I mean, you look at Italy last time; they were goal by committee. I think they had 5 guys with 2 goals or 4 guys with 2 goals as their leading goal scorer.
I think Locatelli was like top 4.
Yeah,
Locatelli had a good group stage, so yeah. I mean, it's not the best market. It's a really crap market for top scorer. To be honest with you. And even then, Ronaldo's not that great at value. He is and he isn't to me. Like, we probably I could probably look stupid by saying this because of who he is, but plus 1,000.
Plus 1,200 over here if that moves the needle for you at all. But I just kind of think he could play 30 minutes a game in the group and still get 2 goals in the group. I don't know. Like, it's very feasible.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's fair. It's just, but he also could just have a stinker.
Yeah,
like it's a different intensity than Ireland.
And if you use like the World Cup as any measuring stick, you look at European players at the World Cup. The only 2 Europeans in the top couple spots were Mbappe with 8, who's the Golden Boot winner. Then Giroud had 4. He was tied for 3rd with Alvarez. Which it just shows like it's unpredictable from round to round. But like,
listen, man,
England made it to the final, and Rashford and Saka were their co-leaders at 3 apiece. It wasn't even Harry Kane.
I don't think I would even get queued. I think it's just going to be Mbappe at this rate.
Yeah,
I don't see it going any other way.
All
Take your
right,
plus
so
500 and go home with it, right?
I think so. I got a couple other plays I just want to quickly toss out. If you guys have anything else, I want you to give them out as well. And then I want to play like a quick 5-minute game to wrap up because I think it'll be fun. Highest scoring team I thought was an interesting one. I'm looking at England at plus 350 or Portugal at plus 650. I think those are two teams, a lot of attacking talent, path to the final, could play a lot of games, weak groups. Don't know if you guys had even looked into that market, if you have any thoughts on those plays or if there was a team you liked anymore, but definitely expect both of those teams to rack up a lot of goals in the group.
I hadn't looked at it, but if you're telling me, those numbers based on the groups they're in, I kind of like the Portugal play better because their group is Turkey, Georgia, and the Czechs.
Yep.
No defensive powerhouses there. And you swap back to England, you're playing Slovenia, Denmark, Serbia. I think it's going to be a little tougher for them to get goals against Denmark and Serbia than it is for Portugal to get against like Germany, Georgia and Turkey, I think. I would prefer the Portugal, especially with an extra plus 300 to it.
Yeah, I agree. Portugal, we know, could have offensive explosions. We saw that in the World Cup. Obviously, they fell flat right after that. Kind of looked like, oh my God, Portugal might have figured this out. Fell flat on their faces.
Yep.
But I think, to me, Portugal have like sort of like the best vibes going into this tournament, or one of them. I don't think there's that much pressure on them. I think it's sort of house money with them. It's a fresh start, new leaf turned. This group is not that difficult. Ronaldo's sort of in the twilight of his career. Yeah. Anything he does in this tournament is a plus for him. I don't think there's anything that could be a negative at this rate. And again, the creation is just unbelievable. Yep. If Leao is like maybe your second or third best creator on the team, like someone like Bernardo Silva is incredible, even though he's like kind of so with Portugal. Stuff like that is like, these players don't get that sort of attention taken off of them at club level, especially someone like Leao, right? So it's really crazy like that. England, I just don't love at all in this tournament. Other top scoring teams, to be honest with you, not many great scoring teams.
Right. That's kind of why I defaulted to England. It's just because they do have guys that can score.
That's fair.
They have guys that are coming off of really good years.
So I've got an interesting market. DraftKings has team to concede the most goals. Okay. And pretty much everyone has pretty good numbers, right? The worst odds you can get is Albania plus 650. I guess they're expecting them to kind of just, capitulate against Spain. But, to me, I don't know how much Croatia and Italy are scoring against them. So
exactly.
Right. So who's maybe giving up a lot of goals? Like who's in the group with Georgia? It's
Romania,
Czech, Turkey. Romania, Ukraine, Slovakia, and Belgium.
Because you look and you have Slovenia plus 900, Georgia plus 900, Slovakia plus 1200, Scotland plus 1200. Like if you pick the right team there, like that's
I think could be Poland.
They're also plus 1200.
Yeah,
Poland is garbage.
I could see it. That's a brutal group.
And that's a tough group. France, Netherlands, Austria. Like
Austria have guys, right? Yeah. I know this kind of sounds like a. They got guys, okay? Netherlands, okay? That might be the one game where it's a letdown with goals. France, listen, that could be a 4-goal game for France.
Yeah, agree.
That's a legitimate thing. And we're
now they're down Lewandowski, so they're down their target man, at least for the first match.
Like, it's just Poland stink. And it's just not a good team. And their group is not that easy. And there's a lot of talent on paper with all three of those countries. Netherlands, again, like we mentioned, but like, come on, like this is for me, Poland. That's value wise, it's there. I think Poland is by far one of the worst teams in this.
I agree.
Yeah, and I think group wise of the teams that we're mentioning, they have the toughest route. Like Georgia's probably the weakest team on paper. At least in terms of who you can name on the team outside of Kvaratskhelia. But how much
is Turkey going to dominate?
How much is Turkey going to dominate them? Right? Like
Turkey was the biggest letdown last tournament.
Every tournament.
Yeah. So that could I do like that shout for Poland a little bit because at plus 1200 they are in the toughest group. I think.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
All right, I got one to win all of their group games. The two teams that I kind of singled out for that were Germany at plus 200, as we spoke about, Scotland, Hungary, and the Swiss, And then Portugal again at plus 300. I think to get 3 wins, Turkey, Georgia, and Czechs. Those two kind of jumped out at me a little bit.
I wouldn't do it for anything. I respect where you're going for with that.
Yeah.
I
just trying to extract a little something.
Yeah, I just have no confidence in that because again, outside of like France,
you get to that last group game, you're got 6 points and nobody else has a shot at getting 6, and then you kind of just rotate a couple of guys, and it's that's tricky. And plus, you said plus 200 on Germany. What was the number on Portugal?
Plus 300.
Plus 300. Like, to me, that's not enough value there to bet a team win all 3 games.
Okay, so what's likelier? One of those teams wins all 3 of their group games, or France wins the tournament?
France wins the tournament.
It could be France win the tournament.
Okay.
Like, I can see the Swiss or Hungary giving Germany a match where they maybe draw, something like that. Like,
and I'm not trying to talk anybody into my bet. I'm just more so trying to paint the picture of how fucking brutal this tournament is to bet on.
Yeah.
Like, these lines are fucking sharp. There's not a lot of value on things that aren't going to happen.
Even like, okay, so like, say we kind of all agreed to an extent that Italy isn't like smelling roses, right? Like, whatever the phrase is. Italy for the quarterfinals, for example, like these other markets, Italy plus 110 to make the quarterfinals is garbage. Like, that's
right.
I don't want that. I don't want any of that. I think what I do like though is some groups where a team finishes last place. I don't know if you were going to get to that, Nick, or if I bring it up.
No, throw it up.
So Slovakia, Romania are plus money. Either or.
Okay.
I don't know if I mentioned that.
I think Romania is a little worse. I feel like.
Say again?
I feel like Romania is slightly worse than Slovakia.
Yeah, so like Romania, I don't think I could name you like 3 players. I have them last. I think they were like around plus 135. Like, they're not finishing higher than 3rd. If they finish higher than 3rd, then I'm stunned. So, like, again, if you're not a big fan of Slovakia, even again with Ukraine, Ukraine's like plus 235 to finish bottom. Not completely out of the question, but I doubt it. But again, stuff like Romania, you could look at Georgia finishing last. I do think Czech have that opportunity to finish last as well. Poland doesn't have good value for it. But again, it's sort of stuff like that. And this is the bracket again, right? So when you fill out your bracket and then you look back on it and you said, oh, this is going to go that way. Like, I have Romania last, and I look at what are the odds with Romania. And this applies to anyone and how they fill out their bracket. Who you have last, then just go look up who to finish bottom in the group. And if there's some value there, then go and place it because you think it's going to happen. So why not? But that's kind of about it with the bottom, with these groups. Question for you guys. There's always the possibility of a doomsday Italy tournament. They finish last in any scenario in your minds? Or they play down to an Albania, because that's certainly possible.
They don't get 3 points. I think they're in last place. I truly believe that 3 points is absolutely mandatory.
I think they were like plus 400-ish range for that then.
To finish bottom of the group, they're plus 1,400.
1,400? Was it
1,400? Croatia's plus 340. Bottom of the group. Albania is obviously the big favorite at minus 270, but I think they do need all 3 points against Albania. I really do, because I think getting 6 against Croatia and Spain is going to be difficult. So I think you do need to get 3 and then, find yourself another few points.
I think 4 points is the minimum.
Get you through, right? 4 points get you through with the 3rd place teams getting through. I always go in with, a hopeful mindset, but I think you have to, considering Albania is the first match, to me, that's a good thing and it's a bad thing for them, because it's a good thing because you start with your easiest game, but at the same time, we've seen Italy start very slow in tournaments before. And if you slip up in this first match, like if you're playing Spain first and you lose, it's like, all right, whatever, we weren't probably beating them anyway. Now it's like you don't beat Albania and things get very dicey for them, I think.
And plus 1,400. Totally got that wrong. So thank you, Steve. And then did we mention the finals matchup was at the start? So the only other thing I kind of liked, because I think Portugal have some upside, plus 130 for the semifinal. It's not great value, but again, on paper, I could easily see that happening. because they're that
Agree.
talented. So a plus 130 for me is okay to kind of bet to get to the semifinals, because I know some sites have them where teams get eliminated in a round. I think I tweeted out about Italy where they get knocked out. Is it the groups that FanDuel has these? Is it group stage? Is it quarterfinal, round of 16? Blah blah blah. I think sort of those types of bets are also pretty decent value as well, depending on the country you want to bet on. So that was just like one other thing, but that's pretty much it that I have.
Coach, did you have anything else before I get on to our final piece here?
No, one thing that we're not going to go through the lines, but one interesting thing I see here on FanDuel's is in the groups you could do a straight forecast first, second. If you have a group where you see someone who's clear favorite and you like someone to finish second, like maybe Germany, Switzerland plus 170.
That was kind of the one.
Yeah, like something like that.
Take a stab with Hungary, Germany, Hungary, and get them to plus 400, something like that.
Yeah, England, Denmark, England, Serbia, something like that.
Those are fun.
Things like that, and then you only have to wait the group stage. You're not waiting the full tournament for it. I think that could be a little bit of fun.
Yep.
Like France, Netherlands plus 155. If you think the Dutch are still good enough to be second, even without Coop Miners and De Jong, like something like that could be worth get you a little plus money value.
All right, I want to close it out with this game here. We're gonna go as quick as we can. I'm just going to go in order, like the order that I'm reading it. It's not in any special order, but I think we had some fun with this bet in the World Cup, the last iteration of it. So I'm just going to run through every team, over, under goals, and you guys will tell me over or under. Don't know what order it's in. Blame it on DraftKings if you think this is ridiculous, but this is the way we're going. Czech Republic.
This is full tournament or just group
full
stage?
tournament. Full tournament. Czech Republic over 4.5 goals, even money.
Under.
4.5 for the Czechs in a group with Portugal, Georgia, Turkey. I could see them getting 5. I could see them getting 4 in the group stage and 1 in the knockout rounds and losing.
I'm going over with you, Coach. Germany over 10.5 plus 120.
I mean,
I like the over.
Yeah, I
go to
the over. Yeah,
I have to go over.
Yeah,
right. You got to figure they're playing 4 or 5 games minimum.
Got to be. I mean, if you're making the semis, you're playing 6 now because you have the round of 16. So,
yep. All right, Portugal over 9.5 plus 135.
9.5. Yeah, that's an over for me.
That's over.
And really good value. Yeah.
Unanimous. Scotland over 3.5 plus 115. Under is minus 150.
Probably going under in this group. I think it's gonna be hard for them to score against the Swiss and Germans.
Yeah, Hungary is a pretty underrated side.
Yeah, and Hungary
did a great job in the group of death last go around.
Yep.
I'd go under.
I agree. Under. Hungary plus over 4.5 plus 145. I'm going to go out on a limb and say over for the Hungary. I think I agree with what you just said, Martino, and I think they have a stronger team.
Because they could finish third in this, and there could be a team that could get to the next round. Yeah, I would go over.
And if
plus 145 is
for a couple of goals, I'll go over with you.
Swiss over 5.5 plus 160.
I'm going to go under. I think they don't score a lot in these tournaments.
I agree.
All right, unanimous under. Georgia over 2.5 minus 135. The under is even money.
Over. You got 3.
I'm going to go under.
Kind of with you, Coach. I think under.
Yeah, I don't see where they get 3 goals, and maybe a goal against Turkey, maybe one against the Czechs. I don't know if they get 3.
All right, dark horse of the tournament, Turkey over 4.5 plus 120. I'm going under.
I'm going under too, unless they run it up against Georgia. I don't think they're getting 5 goals in the tournament.
Man, I don't know. This is probably the hardest one. I'll go over just because I think they're going to get to the knockout stages and can get a goal or 2 in that knockout round. Weak group. I think they could get it.
England and France, both over 10.5. They are both even money.
France, I'm going over because if they're winning the tournament, they're going to be scoring goals. England 10.5. Slovenia, Serbia, Denmark. Then you don't know the route, but
I like over for both.
yeah, probably go over because if they're making like the semifinals, I think you're getting a couple games where they score multiple goals.
I think under for England. I think they get
Okay.
eliminated earlier than everyone expects.
Okay.
Over for France because they're that good.
I like it. Belgium over 8.5 plus 110.
Yeah, plus one. I'm going over just because they're playing Slovakia and Romania in the group stage. Like I could see them throwing up 4 in one of those matches.
Yeah.
All
They
right,
create
this
plenty
is-
of chances. If Lukaku doesn't want to be like whatever the hell that was in 2022, then yeah.
That is a sneaky under for me. I think they're going to be a disappointment. Gotta go out on a limb somewhere here.
Fair enough.
Denmark 5.5 even money. I already forgot it was in their group. So that's the Slovenia, Serbia, England group.
Yeah.
They're tough.
Under 6 goals feels like a lot.
I agree.
Whatever. I'll go out on a limb.
I'm with you. No, I'm with
I'm
you.
going to go under, I think, yeah.
All right,
Okay,
unanimous.
good. Makes me feel better.
Dark horse number 2, Serbia over 4.5 even money.
Serbia over 4.5. I think they
Same
get out of the
group.
group, so I'm gonna go over 4.5. I think they get out of the group.
They screwed me so hard in the World Cup.
You
And
didn't
I
listen.
have so much animosity towards them. But over. Because 4.5 is not that much.
I think it's under. I think this is a team that scores 1 goal a game always, and I think they're out in 3. So
Too
I will
talented.
take the under.
Okay.
Slovenia over 2.5. It's minus 140. The under is plus 110. I can't name a player on this team, so I will go under.
Yeah, I mean Sesko is the big star, the Leipzig guy. But how many goals was it you said?
2.5.
2.5 in that group. I'm probably gonna go under. I don't know if they get 3 goals in that group.
Yeah, Luka Doncic is not playing for them, so under.
Poland over 3.5. I think we're probably looking at a unanimous under for this one.
With Lewandowski out, at least the first match, I'm going under. Yeah.
All right.
Under.
Weirdest line that I think I've seen so far: Ukraine over 5.5. It is plus 140.
Over 5.5 plus 140.
And they're with Romania, Slovakia, and Belgium. So are they getting 6 goals against Slovakia and Romania?
I don't think they get
Here's-
6 goals because even if they get through, do they beat anybody in the knockout rounds?
Yeah. To me, I think the way Romania and Slovakia will approach these matches, that Ukraine is beatable. And
Yes.
The way that they'll be beatable is to play defensively. Whether or not they're that good is different, but I think they'll have the capability of kind of lessening the blow. So I would say under for Ukraine.
Okay. Spain 8.5 minus 140.
Spain 8.5. You said.
Yep.
I think
Tough
they
one.
go over 8.5. Right? If we think they're a team that's going to make a run to like the semifinals or something,
It's a
I
tougher
feel like
group.
they could pile it up on Albania. I think. Right? Like.
I think.
They could
I
win
have to
4-0.
look when
They
they're
could win 1-0.
Yeah.
You know?
They're funny like that sometimes. They are. Because there's matches they'll create a lot of chances and they don't finish and they'll win 1-0. You're right.
Let me just look real quick on when they play. Albania is their final match. So
Yeah.
that's the interesting part of it, right? Does Spain have it locked up? Are they in through the next round? Who do they play? Right? This is where the Jose Lu thing comes in. So I got to go over
Yep.
then. So over.
Okay. Netherlands over 6.5 minus 110.
Yeah,
I think that's a low
Under.
line for them.
it is, but I don't trust them. So I'll go under. 7 just sounds like a lot for this Netherlands team. Does that sound ridiculous on my end?
2 goals
But-
a game. It's like, I
And
don't
if
know.
they get further enough to do it, right? Like
Coach?
You said 6.5 for the Dutch. It's tricky because they're a team that can score goals sometimes, and other times no. And now they're down to the best midfielders, and Koop Miner's the guy who can chip in goals. They're not really, but even that, like against France, I can see that being like a game that turns into like a 3-2 match. So I think I'll go over just because we agree that Poland could concede the most in the tournament. So if they get 2 to 3 against Poland, a goal each in these France and Austria matches, maybe they get a couple of knockout rounds. Yeah, I could see 7. I'll go over.
I agree. I'm on the over. Romania over 3.5 minus 120. I will go under.
Under.
I don't even know a player, so under.
Austria over 4.5 plus 115. Seems like a spot to take a stab with the over.
Yeah. Arnautovic is one of those guys that steps up like that.
Yeah, I guess I'll go over. I mean, they should be able to score against Poland and the Dutch, get a few goals there.
They're a very respectable side, Austria. Yeah. Go over.
Croatia over 5.5, even money.
I'm gonna go under.
I'll go over.
Yeah,
their
with you,
forwards
Martino.
aren't like. Yeah,
I don't know, man. They scored 4 goals in a friendly the other day, and Italy scored 1 goal in 2 friendlies. I don't know if you make of that what you will. Slovakia.
How many they're going to concede Italy? How many they're going to score? Right.
Slovakia over 3.5 minus 110.
Same as before. I don't know anyone under.
Yeah, we go under.
I'll do clean sweep under. Albania over 1.5 minus 130.
Over. They're going to be going for it.
Lowest line in the whole tournament.
Yeah, I'll give them 2 goals.
I agree. And finally, Italy over 6.5. It's minus 150. The under is plus 120.
6.5.
It's a bad number. 150 minus 150. I don't like that number.
I think that would take them getting to the quarterfinals, in my opinion, at minimum, to get 7 goals.
Where are they coming from?
Right.
Yeah.
Did we score 7 goals in fucking qualifying?
Right. Likely under. Being a fan of the team, I wanted to go over. But yeah, it's a crap number, right, Martino? Like minus 150 for 6.
Minus 150 is not great, and none of us love them to go that far. Like that's not even like something like, oh yeah. Like last tournament, I thought Italy could have won it, and they were going to go deep because they were playing unbelievable. This one is just they're too unpredictable at the moment, and minus 150 is not good enough. You told me like minus 130, okay, but 7
goals,
goals,
5.5. I could lay minus 150 at 5.5. I'm not.
Yeah, 5.5. I would say they could find 4 or 5 goals in the group stage and a goal or 2 in the knockout rounds. But 7 is
watch them get 5 versus Albania.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Hey, I'm not actually putting money on the under, so I hope they do go over. And we were wrong on this one, but
I'm not betting on Italy this tournament. Maybe Scamacca. That's about it.
There you go. All right, boys. Shit, that will wrap it up for the Euro preview. Martino, cannot thank you enough for hopping on, running through it with us. Your analysis, your friendship, always greatly appreciated. Talk about what you're doing, man. I know you and Maddie are absolutely crushing the game with your Milan stuff. I see you all over YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, crushing.
Yeah, it's just so much work, bro, in general. But yeah, at Martino Puccio everywhere. That Milan podcast, just if you're interested in Milan stuff, very annoying-ish times to root for the club, but that's how that goes. And again, betting stuff Thursday, we will be releasing the Athletic article for the Euro tournament, and then we're gonna have some Copa America stuff, so which I'm really not I'm not very enthused for Italy going to this tournament. Times 10 for the US in Copa America.
Yeah,
so
it's going to be brutal.
brother, garbage team.
Yeah.
I think what they need, and I know it's getting off track, they need to get eliminated in the group stage for anything to wake up what this federation is. Because sometimes awful shit needs to happen. And this is one of those things that it needs to happen, in my opinion.
Right.
This is an embarrassment.
Agree. Last thing I'll say, I'm sorry, I should have read it out earlier. Scotty did text in his picks. He has France to win plus 340, Italy to win their group at plus 225. I would love to grill him on that. Don't know where it's coming from. Maybe it's listening to us all year long.
He's teasing us.
Ukraine to win their group at plus 400. Denmark to reach the quarterfinal at plus 190, and Mbappe player of the tournament plus 600.
I like the last two, by the way. Denmark, I respect that one. Denmark was arguably the underdog of the last tournament. So
Yeah. They tend to
They were-
perform pretty well in a lot of these tournaments. So
one of those sides that gets deeper because you kind of overlook them, you know?
all right. So keep up with us throughout the tournament. We'll be dropping our shorts on YouTube, daily picks, hopefully every day we're going to be shooting for. And we thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you next week with a Copa America preview.